will be here. Thank you all. Presented a speech for the first International Day of Human Fraternity. Let's welcome his message that highlights the objectives UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres' presentation, please.
I am pleased to welcome the first International Day of Human Fraternity in World Interfaith Harmony Week. I applaud all member states that co-sponsored the United Nations General Assembly resolution proclaiming the 4th of February as the International Day of Human Fraternity, especially the United Arab Emirates and Egypt for co-facilitating the process. I also acknowledge the significance of the 2019 publication of Human Fraternity for World Peace and Living Together, co-authored by His Holiness Pope Francis and His Eminence the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Sheikh Ahmed Al-Tayeb. This declaration is a model for interfaith harmony and human solidarity. I thank both religious leaders for using their voice to promote interfaith dialogue, mutual respect, and understanding across the faith spectrum. In these trying times, we need this spirit more than ever. Around the world, deep-seated discrimination, acts of intolerance, and hate crimes persist against people simply because of their religion or belief, ethnicity, gender, or sexual orientation. Such vile acts are an effort to internationally agreed human rights and the values of the United Nations. Cultural diversity and freedom of belief are part of the rich tapestry of our civilizations. As we commemorate the International Day of Human Fraternity, let us commit to do more to promote cultural and religious tolerance, understanding, and dialogue.
Indeed, it is very important that we put our words into action. Together, we can take action to promote diversity and mutual respect at the global level and also at the regional, national, and local levels, while promoting love and peace through self-cultivation and cultural exchanges. The Taijimen Qigong Academy has also been working on the promotion of the awakening of one's conscience to foster human rights and mutual respect. Dr. Hong has prepared a message of the importance of human fraternity. Please join me to welcome Dr. Hong Tao-Tze, Zhang-men-ren of Taijimen.
Distinguished guests, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, good day. The UN General Assembly on December 21st, 2020, declared February 4th as the International Day of Human Fraternity, which has been observed annually starting from 2021. The day enhances global citizens' well-being and inspires their common aspirations to create a culture of peace and mobilize the international community to promote peace, tolerance, acceptance, understanding, and solidarity. The International Day of Human Fraternity reaffirms the objectives and principles enshrined in the UN Charter and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, in particular, the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, and urges global citizens to build a fraternal world. Compassion and mercy are virtues common to all humanity. Human beings and all living things are nurtured by heaven and earth. Confucianism talks about benevolence and love. Mo-Tzu talked about concurrent love. Jesus Christ talked about universal love. All of them are expansive forms of love, which go beyond self-love and transcend regions and cultures. Fraternity has nothing to do with money or fame. True love is selfless, and true goodness has no boundaries. The principle represents the actions of saints who went beyond the field of philosophy and were primarily concerned with the safety of the people of the world. The essence of fraternity is to create peace, resolve conflicts and confrontations of any kind in a nonviolent manner, and build a harmonious world through solidarity, mutual help, and mutual love. Since ancient times, the promotion and practice of love and kindness has been the manifestation of the spirit of fraternity. This spirit aids in the realization of sustainable development, serves as the guiding principle of fundamental education, and represents the worldview of a sustainable and peaceful future. More than 2,000 years ago, during the Warring States period, the Confucian philosopher Mencius said to Mo-Tzu, who traveled from country to country, "Who does not know what good is? Why bother to persuade the people?" Mo-Tzu replied, "The world is chaotic now. There are many who seek beauty, but few who seek goodness. So if we do not persuade and guide them, they will not know what goodness is." In the present world, my Dizi and I have visited 101 countries because the world needs more actions to spread love and goodness. In recent years, global citizens have been facing increasingly severe threats to their existence, particularly the novel coronavirus, which has caused an unprecedented human crisis. In the face of the unpredictable and unprecedented negative impacts of the pandemic, people, governments, and civil society organizations must unite to fight for humanity's common future and survival. The only way out is for everyone to work together. Nowadays, the world needs heartfelt tolerance and respect from global citizens, with everyone being proactive, acting with sincerity, and harnessing the power of unity to solve problems selflessly. In addition to humane care, human fraternity prioritizes defending freedom of thought and religion, and opposing any form of discrimination or persecution against religion or belief. People's right to freely choose their religion should be fully respected. Different religions and beliefs should appreciate and learn from one another, and religious leaders are encouraged to foster world peace through religious dialogue and the integration of diverse religions. This is an indispensable element of a democratic society. We need to awaken the innate conscience in world citizens to promote more effective communication between people and nations, and thereby attain unity. When our actions are guided by conscience and wisdom, we will be able to solve the long accumulated and emerging global problems, because conscience is the highest code of conduct all human beings share. It transcends the differences in skin color, gender, language, or faith. Conscience, which is selfless, allows us to focus on a greater purpose and work for our collective well-being as a human race, while striving for a peaceful and happy world for all. Conscience, kind thoughts, and good actions are the key forces that bring human fraternity into play and protect the sustainable development of the earth. As long as people exert the influence of goodness in their respective positions, they can collectively create a butterfly effect of kindness and promote a harmonious, united, fraternal, and sustainable society through collective action, while creating peace in their hearts and in the world. Nowadays, the world is like a ship traveling through a storm, and we are all in the same boat. We need helmsmen with stable and supportive energy to lead global citizens to work together with one heart and move in the right direction, while awakening people's conscience to make decisions and take actions with love and conscience, overcome the daunting challenges, move towards peace, and usher in a brighter future for future generations. Action, action, action. May you all be blessed.
Thank you, Dr. Hong. As Dr. Hong mentioned, in the face of the unpredictable challenges, we must unite to fight for humanity's common future and survival. The only way out is for everyone to work together. We are grateful for all of your presence today and for your long-term effort to protect human rights. Through our journey, we have met many like-minded friends fighting for the freedom of religion and belief. Ms. Pamela Pryor, the Senior Bureau Official for International Organization Affairs from the U.S. Department of State, sending her best wishes for today's event. Let me share her words of encouragement with you. First off, a happy Lunar New Year to everyone. I'm sending warm wishes to you all on the International Day of Human Fraternity and the Taiwan case. There's never a reason for religious persecution or the deprivation of human rights. That is, in the view of the U.S. Constitution, are given to us by God, not government. My thought and prayers are with you all as you seek justice and freedom for all, regardless of their beliefs or country of origin. Thank you, Ms. Pryor, for the warm wishes. And next, we would like to invite the mayor of the city of Walnut, Mr. Eric Ching, to share a few words with us.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to be here. It's such a great honor. And I'd like to thank Taiwan for years, many years, decades of promoting love, unity, and peace. And may God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eric Chin. All these years, Taiwan has loved the community and appreciate your support along the way. Now, we would like to start the panel discussion and the forum. Please join me to give a warm welcome to Dr. Massimo, our moderator for today's forum.
Thank you very much. It's very pleasant to have an event in presence after so many just via Zoom. And this event comes after February 4, which was the International Human Fraternity Day. As you know, the United Nations have several days of observance, and this day is comparatively recent. It was first celebrated in 2021. It is also one of the few days of observance which commemorates a religious event. In fact, the date of February 4 has been selected because on February 4, 2019, as mentioned by the Secretary General, Pope Francis and the Grand Imam of the Mosque of Al-Azhar in Egypt signed Abu Dhabi Declaration about Fraternity. Now, we have to remember that Sunni Islam has no clergy, and the highest authorities are the scholars, and it's traditionally, the mic is no longer functioning, I believe. And it's traditionally believed that the top scholar in Sunni Islam, hence the highest authority in this religion, is the Imam of Al-Azhar University in Cairo. So we had this declaration in 2019 signed by the two highest authorities of the two largest religious bodies in the world, the Roman Catholic Church and Sunni Islam. On October 3, 2020, Pope Francis followed suit with a letter encyclical called Fratelli Tutti, All Brothers, which he signed in Assisi, and Fratelli Tutti, All Brothers comes from a motto of Francis of Assisi. And it was also a letter about fraternity. Now, I myself Roman Catholic, and I'm aware that for centuries, the word fraternity was not very popular among Catholics because it had been part of the motto of the French Revolution, liberty, equality, fraternity, and has also been used in the Soviet Union. And both the French revolutionaries and the Soviets, while proclaiming fraternity, killed a good number of people, including Christians and Catholic priests. So clearly it was an ideological fraternity which did not include dissidents or opponents. However, Pope Francis reminds to us that fraternity, well before the French Revolution, has been a Christian concept and should not be easily discarded because of its later ideological misuse. Of course, for believers in a personal God, we are all brothers because we all have the same Father, God. And this declaration of Abu Dhabi had also the aim of having two high spiritual authorities repudiate terrorism, which is, of course, the contrary of fraternity. The encyclical by Pope Francis is as long as a book, and we are not summarizing it here, but I believe there are 3 points which are relevant for the Taiwan case. The first point is Pope Francis identifies the root cause of the lack of fraternity and social harmony in our world in what he calls a desensitized human conscience. And conscience is desensitized by materialism, but the Pope says also because of a digital manipulation of consciences by media that serve the corrupt powers of this world. The second point is the role of religious and spiritual organizations to keep alive the flame of collective conscience, which is a prerequisite for world fraternity and peace. And the third point is that the letter says corruption in its various forms, but particularly by politicians and corrupt officials, is one of the main obstacles to achieve peace through conscience. Now, I'm sure Taiwan recognize these teachings that, as Dr. Hong just said, are part of all religions. But Dr. Hong's work and the efforts of thousands of Dizzy is a very good example of how indeed the religious and spiritual organizations may play a key role in spreading these ideas. And Dr. Hong can testify about this on direct experience because, number one, he proved that the efforts of a comparatively small number of people touring the world may really change the world on behalf of world peace and love and conscience. But on the other hand, he also personally experienced how corruption can create deep troubles, and also slander through the media may create deep troubles. And I believe the Taijimen case is largely about a very beautiful movement, a fight for conscience, peace, and love being stopped by greediness and corruption. So I believe now we have a choice. Either we accept the injustice and perpetuate the corruption, or we reject the injustice in the name of fraternity, peace, and freedom. But before concluding, I want to make a public confession that today, by visiting the academy, I got myself a red envelope, and Donald Westbrook too. And when opening the red envelope, I found $1. This dollar is actually of chocolate, but my question is now how much I should pay to the National Taxation Bureau in Taiwan, and will they come and seize my home because I got $1 in my red envelope? So I should admit I'm quite concerned. But let's not be overcome by concern, and since we mentioned Pope Francis, we will now listen to his message for the International Human Fraternity Day. So I would say to show Pope Francis' message should be next.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, permettetemi anzitutto di salutare con affetto e stima il grande Imam Ahmed Al-Tayeb, con il quale esattamente 3 anni fa ad Abu Dhabi ho firmato il documento sulla fratellanza umana per la pace mondiale e la convivenza comune. In questi anni abbiamo camminato come fratelli nella consapevolezza che, rispettando le nostre rispettive culture e tradizioni, siamo chiamati a costruire la fratellanza quale barriera contro l'odio, la violenza e l'ingiustizia. Ringrazio tutti coloro che ci hanno accompagnato su questa strada. Sua Altezza lo Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed per il suo costante impegno in tale direzione, l'Alto Comitato per la Fratellanza Umana per le varie iniziative promosse in diverse parti del mondo e l'Assemblea Generale delle Nazioni Unite perché, con la risoluzione del dicembre del 2020, ha permesso di celebrare oggi la seconda giornata internazionale della fratellanza umana. E la gratitudine si estende a tutte le istituzioni civili e religiose che sostengono questa nobile causa. La fratellanza è uno dei valori fondamentali e universali che dovrebbe essere alla base delle relazioni tra i popoli, così che quanti soffrono o sono svantaggiati non si sentano esclusi e dimenticati, ma accolti, sostenuti come parte dell'unica famiglia umana. Siamo fratelli. Tutti nel nostro condividere sentimenti di fratellanza gli uni per gli altri, dobbiamo farci promotori di una cultura di pace che incoraggi sviluppo sostenibile, tolleranza, inclusione, comprensione reciproca e solidarietà. Tutti viviamo sotto lo stesso cielo, indipendentemente da dove e da come viviamo, dal colore della pelle, della religione, dal ceto sociale, dal sesso, dall'età, dalle condizioni di salute e da quelle economiche. Siamo tutti diversi, eppure tutti uguali. E questo periodo di pandemia ce lo ha dimostrato. Ripeto ancora una volta, da soli non ci si salva. Da soli non ci si salva. Viviamo tutti sullo stesso cielo e nel nome di Dio, noi che siamo sue creature, dobbiamo riconoscerci fratelli e sorelle. Come credenti e appartenenti a diverse tradizioni religiose abbiamo un ruolo da svolgere. Qual è questo ruolo da svolgere? Aiutare i nostri fratelli e sorelle a elevare lo sguardo e la preghiera al cielo. Alziamo gli occhi al cielo, perché chi adora Dio con cuore sincero ama anche il prossimo. La fratellanza ci induce ad aprirci al Padre di tutti e a vedere nell'altro un fratello, una sorella, a condividere la vita, a sostenerci a vicenda, ad amare e conoscere gli altri. Viviamo tutti sotto lo stesso cielo. Oggi è il tempo opportuno per camminare insieme, non lasciare per domani o per un futuro che non sappiamo se ci sarà. Oggi è il tempo opportuno per camminare insieme. Credenti e tutte le persone di buona volontà, insieme. È un giorno propizio per darsi la mano, per celebrare la nostra unità nella diversità. Unità, non uniformità, unità nella diversità. Per dire alle comunità e alle società in cui viviamo che è giunto il tempo della fratellanza. Tutti insieme, perché è fondamentale essere solidali l'uno con l'altro, e per questo oggi, lo ripeto, non è tempo di indifferenza. O siamo fratelli o crolla tutto. E questo non è un'espressione meramente letteraria di tragedia, no, è la verità. O siamo fratelli o crolla tutto. Lo vediamo nelle piccole guerre, in questa terza guerra mondiale a pezzetti, come si distruggono i popoli, come i bambini non hanno da mangiare, come cala l'educazione. È una distruzione. O siamo fratelli o crolla tutto. Non è il tempo della dimenticanza. Ogni giorno dobbiamo ricordarci quello che Dio disse ad Abramo, che alzando lo sguardo alle stelle del cielo avrebbe visto la promessa della sua discendenza, cioè noi. Una promessa che dunque si è realizzata anche nelle nostre vite, quella di una fraternità larga e luminosa come sono le stelle del cielo. Care sorelle, cari fratelli, caro fratello grande Iman, Il percorso della fratellanza è lungo, è un percorso difficile, ma è l'ancora di salvezza per l'umanità. A tanti segnali di minaccia, ai tempi bui, alla logica del conflitto contrapponiamo il segno della fratellanza che, accogliendo l'altro e rispettandone l'identità, lo sollecita a un cammino comune. Non uguali, no, fratelli, ognuno con la propria personalità, con la propria singolarità. Grazie a tutti coloro che operano nella convinzione che si possa vivere in armonia e in pace, consapevoli della necessità di un mondo più fraterno, perché siamo tutti creature di Dio, fratelli e sorelle. E grazie a coloro che si uniranno al nostro cammino di fratellanza. Incoraggio tutti a impegnarsi per la causa della pace e per rispondere ai problemi e ai bisogni concreti degli ultimi, dei poveri, di chi è indifeso. La proposta è quella di camminare fianco a fianco, fratelli tutti, per essere concretamente artigiani di pace e di giustizia, nell'armonia delle differenze e nel rispetto dell'identità di ciascuno. Sorelle e fratelli, avanti insieme su questa strada della fratellanza. Grazie.
Yeah, let's clarify that we all love Taiwan. We find many sisters and brothers there, and I visited Taiwan many times and have a great respect and even enthusiasm for its culture. I also appreciate the effort to build a real democracy, but at the same time, because we support Taiwan, we would like to see it improve its record in some crucial area. And one area where Taiwan is low in the world indexes is corruption. And so the next video will show one of the problems of corruption in Taiwan, which comes from the bonuses given to bureaucrats, which enforce quickly tax bills without asking themselves whether these bills are right or wrong. So we will now watch the next video.
Abolish the bonus system to save Taiwan. I am a veteran and have been teaching at a military school for 13 years. In the past 2 years, my students ask me, Professor Lau, do you think there will be a war in the Taiwan Strait? I always tell my students that the highest strategy in Sun Tzu's Art of War is to conquer the enemy without fighting. I will stand with you and get prepared. I hope there will be peace in the Taiwan Strait forever. That is my sincerest wish, but is it really easy to make it come true? The cover of the May 1, 2021 edition of the British Economist magazine features a picture of Taiwan with the caption, "The most dangerous place on earth." This year, on January 23, World Freedom Day, China sent 39 warplanes into Taiwan's air defense zone. Now, 2 U.S. aircraft carrier groups have entered the South China Sea for training. There are hundreds of thousands of troops near the border between Ukraine and Russia. Once a war breaks out, Taiwan will most likely become a purgatory. At this critical moment, Taiwan Legislative Yuan is reviewing the total annual budget of 2.2 trillion new Taiwan dollars, with the total defense budget been an unprecedented 412.7 billion new Taiwan dollars. Young students and citizens in front of the Chuanxian building of Taiwan's Legislative Yuan. They protested for 4 days over a meager 130 million new Taiwan dollars in bonuses set aside by the Ministry of Finance for tax collection. Why? My observations, 3 major aspects. First, bonuses are a breeding ground for corruption. Bjorn Terrace Wahlberg, the founder of the World Taxpayers Association, WTA, criticized the bonus system for tax collection as shameful and said it should be abolished. Staffan Wenberg, former chairman of the WTA, said bluntly that the tax authorities should serve the taxpayers and that it is a total mistake to have the bonuses for tax collection, which have caused corruption and conflicts between the tax authorities and taxpayers. In 2021, more than 400 billion new Taiwan dollars was overcollected. Many of our neighboring countries and territories, like Singapore, South Korea, Hong Kong, and Macau, have refunded to their people overcollected taxes. But Taiwan's Ministry of Finance, regarded as a brilliant tribute to the rulers to show off their performance and to be utilized by them? Money talks. It is no wonder that no matter which political party is in power, no one doesn't love the Ministry of Finance. No one is not afraid of the Ministry of Finance. Former Finance Minister Chang Shengford even retorted the salaries of the officers are not high enough to support their integrity by saying that he insulted himself and all other civil servants. It is no wonder 2004, over 100 legislators, such as Chu Hsnu, finally removed the bonus program for tax collection, which was the legacy of martial law, after a heated discussion. But in 2008, the Ministry of Finance restored it with its administrative guidelines, which lacked legal grounds, but each year a budget for the illegal bonus was proposed and even passed. The party's interests have taken precedence over justice and the people. Former legislators Huang Wenling and Lo Shulai could not help but reveal that legislators themselves and their family businesses are dependent on the NTB. They revealed that, by helping businesses negotiate a lower tax amount, legislators can get financial benefits in return. All these have caused the failure of the Legislative Yuan's oversight of the executive branch. Overcollection of taxes is like a high-speed train, out of control and horrifying. Replacing the principle of taxation based on actual taxable income, the so-called principle of taxation based on substantial economy, has been used to issue tax bills based on speculation and guesswork, which is a totalitarian weapon used by the German Nazis to rob people's property. Huang Kun-Kwang, former auditor of the NTB, has stepped forward to criticize the Taxation Bureau's use of guesswork, shows no need for tax auditors. The media revealed that most of the bonuses went into the accounts of senior government officials. The grassroots tax collectors only received 2 oranges. Former Finance Minister Wang Chien-suen, before leaving office, found an extra 10 million new Taiwan dollars in his account. He returned it without taking a penny. So the dark bonus program came to light. High-ranking officials get the highest bonus amounts and hold the power to determine whether to grant promotion to their subordinates. High-ranking officials want to get bonuses, so their subordinates have to issue as many tax bills as they can. Such a corrupt structure is worrying, isn't it? Second, bonus is the source of tax disasters. My judge friend said with a heavy heart, how can an unjustified tax bill be withdrawn and the unjust case be rectified when the bonuses have been distributed among the officers? The 2 international covenants, ICCPR and CESNUR, guarantee people's equal rights to litigation, but the administrative remedy system in Taiwan is like sending taxpayers to the hellish and endless cycle of torture. Tax officers have the final say on whether the tax bills are valid. They would use guesswork to determine. If you get a tax bill of $3 million, to prove the tax bill is wrong, you have to pay $1 million in guarantee before filing a lawsuit. If you can't pay it, you will have to face asset freeze, travel ban, and detention, while in the United States, it only costs $60 to file such a lawsuit. In the end, people, like tax slaves, hope the administrative court help them rectify cases. Legislator Lai, when questioning the Ministry of Finance, disclosed that the people's success rate in tax litigation is 60% in Denmark, 44% in Germany, and only 0.3% in Taiwan. It means no1 successful. The administrative court judges are not well versed in tax law and unable to make a final decision for the people. Even if the people are win the cases, the wrong tax bills will be returned to the Taxation Bureau, which issued the tax bills, allowing it to issue similar tax bills, resulting in a horrible and never-ending cycle of illegal tax bills. May I ask, can anyone or any company endure this kind of torture? To meet over a cup of coffee has become the best way for taxpayers and tax officers to negotiate a tax dispute and create a win-win-win situation. Article 19 of the Constitution of the ROC stipulates, the people shall have the duty of paying taxes in accordance with law. It means that we should pay the tax we pay, not a penny less, but we should not to pay then don't pay it, not even a penny more. That is what a law-abiding citizen should do. Because the bonus money has been distributed to the pockets of senior officials. The tax system ensures that tax officials have a 100% victory in threatening people to pay unjustified taxes. Tax justice and human rights have been seriously violated. When bureaucrats impose excessive and unjustified taxes, the downfall of the dynasty is near. Bonuses and performance have stimulated the crazy overcollection of taxes. Bonus has been the reason why unjust tax cases have failed to get rectified. Over decade, the new cases of unpaid taxes and government fees pending enforcement has increased by 7.53 times, and the number of such cases reached 14.31 million in 2020. Willy Fautre, director of Brussels-based NGO Human Rights Without Frontiers, after studying the Taiwan case said, the system of tax bonuses granted to public servants can lead to undue fiscal and judicial harassment for years and decades. This system is a form of organized corruption inside the state and an abuse of power of their leaders and their staff for personal financial benefit. The bonuses for tax collection, which account for a mere 0.006% of the annual budget, become the only fat cats in the system of public servants. This bonus system paralyzed the operation of the constitutional system of five powers, also endangered national security. Shouldn't we be concerned? Third, the awakening of conscience, all people save the country. The famous historical general U.S.A. is regarded as the saint of martial arts, and even the leader of his enemies Jin Wuju's side. It is easy to shake the mountain, but difficult to shake Yu's army, because the army led by Yu was disciplined and loved the people as their own family members. U.S.A. famously stated, the civil officials are not greedy, and the military officials are not afraid to die, the world will be at peace. With its enemies lurking around, Taiwan is facing a grave threat, but the abolition of the 130 million new Taiwan dollars bonus for tax collection has failed. Can we wait and do nothing? Albert Einstein said, the world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. We urge the Taiwanese government to implement true tax and legal reform. We shall save Taiwan with conscience. At this critical moment, we cannot make it without you. Thank you all.
Thank you, and we will now hear by former California State Senator Bob Huff.
大家好，新年快乐，恭喜发财. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to join you today. I don't know about what the previous speaker said, but I would like to go back to what the Pope said, because I believe that is in tune with today, where we're celebrating International Day of Brotherhood. The Pope said, either we are all brothers and sisters, or we all fall apart. And that is certainly true, and it has been since the beginning of time. The Bible records Cain killing Abel, and it has been a problem ever since. None of us can force change on our family, on our neighbor, on our community, but we can certainly work on ourselves and force change on us and change who we are. And history is many illustrations of people who have turned their lives around. And so I would encourage us all to let world peace begin with ourselves and do what we can. Certainly, I have spent my time in elected office trying to do that and affect change on society. But thank you all for gathering, underscoring the need for brotherhood, for fraternity, and may you all have a happy new year, and may we live in better peace with each other. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we will continue, if she is online, with Professor Holly Falk. Holly is a professor of religious studies at Western Washington University, and she is one of the better known expert of new religious movements and I would say related controversies in the United States and globally. So Holly, the floor is yours.
Greetings to everybody. Hello, Happy New Year. My comments are short because I'm still learning about the Taiwan case, but I've already come to realize that it has international significance and we should consider its implications beyond the borders of Taiwan. I'd like to say thank you to the efforts of Taiwan in bringing this issue to the world's attention, and also thank you, Massimo, for helping arrange this meeting. For many religious groups in East Asia, traditional arts and culture are important dimensions of their activities. Martial arts, calligraphy, and flower arranging, music and dance are recognized as spiritual practices in Taiwan, Korea, and other countries. And cultural renewal is part of the mission of Taoist-influenced groups especially. Furthermore, honoring gifts bestowed in red envelopes at New Year's and other festivals are very common in Chinese culture, so much so that it invites speculation how the tax agency could have misinterpreted these as tuition. The members of Taijimen have gone to great efforts to provide complete and accurate information to the government, which has dismissed their attestations. Their case is a reminder that the cult designation is a very problematic framing, one that is intensely prejudicial. It predisposes the hearer to believe a group is involved in illegal activity. Being labeled a cult facilitates the selective prosecution of minority religions in both civil and criminal cases. In recent years, a similar pattern has unfolded in several countries, whereby manifestly false charges can proceed quite far through the legal system when the accused is part of a new religious movement. Furthermore, individual bureaucrats have been able to create ongoing problems for groups they personally don't like, in clear violation of equal protection and other civil liberties. Seizure of the property of Taijimen has created an even larger problem than the backdated tax bill. This in particular points to a parallel with international cases. So let me just talk about one. In southern France, controversies have persisted for many years over a proposed temple at the holy city of Mandarin. Although the case is currently still in appeal, a local village association has not only blocked construction, but the courts have agreed with their request and ordered the esoteric Buddhist community of Om practitioners to rebuild the hillside that had been carved out for the temple site. The court ordered a fine imposed daily until restoration was complete, with the express intent of ruining the Mandarin community financially. Similarly, it appears that in the case of Taijimen, one of the main goals of the tax agency has been to protect their own image and also to damage that of Taijimen. What I myself am still reacting to is the acute vindictiveness of the bureaucrats here. Massimo has theorized that Mianzi, face, motivates the tax agency to take the position they do. I'm not sure they are aware of the irony of their strategy. For a government agency to exploit a legal technicality speaks very negatively about their activities. And that is really all I have to say right now, but thank you very much for including me, for bringing this issue to light. I wish every success in your continued struggle against an unjust situation.
Thank you, and let me remind the audience that the Mandarom case, wholly mentioned, it is one for which France was later censored and by the European Court of Human Rights, and that to pay damages to the Mandarom. Unfortunately, there is no similar higher court as the European Court of Human Rights where Taijimen can take its case. The next speaker is Willy Fautré, co-founder, director of Human Rights Without Frontiers, speaking via Zoom from Brussels, and Human Rights Without Frontiers with my own organization, CESNUR, and the daily magazine Bitter Winter is a co-organizer of this event. So Willy, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And Happy New Year to everybody. Liberté, égalité, fraternité in French. And in English, liberty, equality, fraternity is the national motto of the French Republic. Although it finds its origin in the 1789 French Revolution, it was not institutionalized until the end of the 19th century in France. It is only in 2021 that for the first time, the UN commemorated the cherished value of fraternity, with a special focus on religious and interreligious tolerance. On December 21, 2020, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed in Resolution 75-200 February the 4th as the International Day of Human Fraternity. This resolution, which was co-sponsored by Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates reaffirmed in its first paragraph the importance granted to the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In its second paragraph, it recalled that Resolution 3655 of the 25th of November 81, proclaiming the Declaration on the Elimination of all forms of intolerance, of discrimination based on religion or belief. The celebration of the International Day of Fraternity is therefore clearly rooted in the freedom of religion or belief. But why the date of the 4th of February? The choice of this date was justified by the historical meeting, as it was already said before me, between Pope Francis and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Ahmad al-Taib, 3 years ago, on the 4th of February 2019. During this meeting, the two religious leaders signed a document titled Human Fraternity for World Peace and Living Together. That day now kicks off World Interfaith Harmony Week, which has been celebrated during the first week in February since 2010. Observing an International Day of Human Fraternity is needed now more than ever before, considering the deplorable fragmentation of our world today. There is indeed deep concern regarding acts that advocate religious hatred and thereby undermine the spirit of tolerance and respect for diversity. Humankind is plagued not only by the COVID-19, but also by the contagious virus of hate, discrimination, and racism. The antidote, or best antibodies to hate, is human fraternity, which embodies compassion, mutual respect, unity, solidarity, and renewed multilateral cooperation. In these difficult times, we need to recognize the valuable contribution of people of all faiths, all beliefs to humanity. Dialogue among all religious groups can greatly improve awareness and understanding of the common values shared by all humankind. The teachings of Dr. Hong and Taijimen underline the importance of raising awareness about different cultures and religions or beliefs, and the promotion of tolerance, which involves societal acceptance and respect for religious and cultural diversity, including with regard to religious expression. Education of the youth in the framework of Taijimen contributes in a meaningful way to promoting tolerance and the elimination of discrimination based on religion or belief. They encourage activities aimed at promoting interreligious and intercultural dialogue in order to enhance peace and social stability, respect for diversity, and mutual respect. Love and peace are at the core of Taijimen's values. Such a culture encourages attitudes, traditions, and modes of behavior and ways of life based on a resolution that I already mentioned, titled Declaration and Program of Action on the Culture of Peace, adopted by the UN General Assembly in 1999. This resolution, which is the compass of Taijimen, makes a number of recommendations which should find a large echo in the ears of the Taiwanese authorities and the Taiwanese population due to the geopolitical situation of their country and due to the unsolved denial of justice imposed on Taiwan men for 25 years. These recommendations provide, among other things, full respect for the principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and political independence of states and non-intervention in matters which are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of any state. Full respect for and promotion of all human rights and fundamental freedoms. Commitment to peaceful settlement of conflicts. Adherence to the principles of freedom, justice, democracy, tolerance, solidarity, cooperation, pluralism, cultural diversity, dialogue, respect for and promotion of equal rights and opportunities, respect for life, ending of violence, promotion and practice of non-violence through education, dialogue, and cooperation. In their relations with Dr. Hong and his wife, with Taiwan men, and with the Dizzy, the Taiwanese authorities should be able to recognize the added value of their contribution to the well-being of the Taiwanese society, and where there is still an urgent deficit to be made up when confronting their practices with the UN recommendations. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. And our next speaker is also very familiar to those who follow the webinars and seminars about Taiwan. And it's Marco Respinti, an Italian journalist who serves as director in charge of Bitter Winter. Marco, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Massimo, and hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you live, and Happy New Year to everyone. Today, I wish to tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a curious fellow who spent his time sitting atop of a brickwork, his leg swinging in the void. He was the main character of a popular nursery rhyme in Britain. Traditionally, that bizarre chap is depicted as an anthropomorphic egg going by the name of Humpty Dumpty. Most people know him through the literary works of an English mathematician and Anglican deacon, Charles Ludwig Dodgson, better known by his pen name Lewis Carroll, the famous author of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and its sequel Through the Looking Glass. In this latter book, Humpty Dumpty entertains an interesting dialogue with Alice. I'm reading from Carroll's book. "I don't know what you mean by glory," Alice said. Humpty Dumpty smiled contemptuously. "Of course you don't, till I tell you. I meant there is a nice knockdown argument for you." "But glory doesn't mean a nice knockdown argument," Alice objected. "When I use a word," Humpty Dumpty said, in a rather scornful tone, "it means just what I choose it to mean, neither more nor less." "The question is," said Alice, "whether you can make words mean so many different things." "The question is," said Humpty Dumpty, "which is to be master. That's all." This is a brilliant piece of modern hermeneutics. Per se, hermeneutics is the art of interpreting ancient texts, especially religious texts, but in the age of Humpty Dumpty has been de facto redefined as more or less everything is but interpretation. In a great, though tiny 1948 book entitled Ideas Have Consequences, American rhetorician and man of letters Richard Weaver traces the origins of the cultural and religious decadence of the West to the advent of nominalism in the late 11th and 12th century and alchemist philosophy in the 14th century. These speculations deny reality to ideas and concepts, claiming that they do exist only as mere names or labels. In more recent years, this line of thought was resurrected and made popular by the world-famous Italian semiologist and writer Umberto Eco, and interestingly, one of the main outputs of this philosophy is the justification of absolute power. When words, ideas, and concepts lose universal meanings and all becomes subjective perception, the chaos of conflicting interpretation, where the only absolute is that everything is relative, rip humanity apart until an Humpty Dumpty's master finds enough power to rise above others, imposing his or her vision to a world that will easily eat out of his/her hands, since it shares the same relativistic premises. In this landscape, being able to raise and excite strong sentiments, words that once were meaningful do not disappear. They are just emptied from within. For example, democracy, always present in the mouths of non-democratic people, human rights, an expression preferred by abusers, or liberty, meaning instead license, and equality invoked by discriminators, and here we are, fraternity, a common kind in a world filled with hatred. I intentionally echoed here the motto of the French Revolution, which was already mentioned today a couple of times. And being myself a Catholic too, yes, I raise my eyebrows when I hear such these words shaped by the legacy of the bloody French Revolution, as well as I deeply appreciate it after the teaching of my church. How can I reconcile these two opposite feelings? By rolling back Humpty Dumpty's claim that words have only the meaning that a master is able to arbitrarily impose on people. I promised you a story, and a story I told. But as every storyteller and folklorist know, stories and fables and myths have the power to evocate and represent reality, because the stories and fables and myths are basically made of real words and even create meaningful words and Humpty Dumpty lies. Also, my story is no invention, and its name is Tao-Tze men. For a quarter of a century, Tao-Tze men suffered the Humpty Dumptyan tyranny over words perpetrated by some state bureaucrats that, not believing in truth and in the power of words to have truthful meaning, managed to prosecute an entire spiritual movement for crimes that, as repeatedly courts of law said, it never committed. And all this probably out of a vulgar personal interest and ideological hate. This staggering persecution that caused many people to greatly suffer was and is committed in a democratic country where, in theory, human rights, liberty, equality, and fraternity reign. It was and is committed by some branches of the government of Taiwan by bureaucrats that, describing themselves as democratic people fond of democratic values, say to honor human rights, liberty, equality, and fraternity, while they totally empty these words of any meaning. Here our true tale of Tao-Tze men reveals itself as a paradigmatic and paramount testimony. Either Humpty Dumpty and the bureaucrats that persecute Tao-Tze men are right, and words have the only meaning that the powerful master imposes on people, or the opposite is true, and words have universal meaning because they express reality and facts. But if the Humpty Dumptyan bureaucrats that persecute Tao-Tze men are right, literally all becomes possible, even the most spectacular injustice. But above all, there is no ground to say that the persecution of Tao-Tze men on false claims or any other evil is wrong. We should all resign and accept it, even praise it as the triumph of the relativistic absolutism of self-perceptions that we seem to enjoy. Or the opposite of this absurd and illogical conclusion is true, and the persecution of Taiwan reveals the necessity to return to words grounded in solid meaning. For example, the word fraternity. My tale could continue for a long, long time because it is the tale of things as they are, the universal tale of life. I interrupted here, having reached, I hope, my point. No one can truly respect any fellow human being as a brother or a sister unless their untouchable dignity is fully recognized. This dignity is tailored out of the very fabric of humanity, or in a religious language, expresses the nature of men and women as being the sons and daughters of a common Father, God, that Christian theology, rooted in the Bible, describes using human images as both paternal and maternal in his care for human beings. Taiwan is a Pacific movement which works with charity and benevolence to bring harmony and fraternity to the world. Why on earth the world should let its persecutors deny Taiwan the right to enjoy the true brotherhood and sisterhood, which is the mark of a just society where Humpty Dumpty is no king? Thank you.
Thank you. And one of the things I like about Taiwan is that they are not self-absorbed in their problems. Of course, they fight for their problems, but they have ecumenical and global gaze on injustice and violations of freedom of religion or belief in the world. So they attend international conferences and they make friends. And they also want to contribute to solve, as much as this is possible, problems of freedom of religion or belief in other parts of the world. So we welcome now Father Joseph Bature Fidelis, who is director of the Justice, Development and Peace Commission of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Maiduguri, Nigeria, which is a country with a serious problem, as we all know, of religious conflict and persecution. So, Father Fidelis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And I would want to thank sincerely the organizers of this online meeting and webinar, I thank you so much for giving us this platform to raise awareness and to galvanize support to combat the oppressive action against the Taiwan. This comes immediately after the celebration of the International Day for Human Fraternity. And I commend this common solidarity that we all share in calling for action to challenge all forms of religious discrimination and oppression of people who, for no offense of theirs, have been subjected to so much psychological torture and physical deprivation. Galvanizing support to confront violence or religious freedom and belief is a call to human fraternity. And I believe it is important for us all together to work as brothers, as sisters, to see that whoever is suffering injustice, we work together to bring about the relief and the rights of human persons. Religion, as we so much know, is man's way of surrendering to a divine or a belief in a supreme value or moral system. And religion helps to bring people together to share common beliefs, common practices, and to share their lives together as much as whatever they believe in. Being a priest, I know so much how religion can be very helpful to building people. But sometimes when religion is abused, it can become an instrument of torture, and it can become also a way of dehumanizing people. Lately, we see more and more violation of religious liberties and freedoms around the world by totalitarian governments and regimes. And the case of Taiwan is a case in question that tells us how much other persons or government can subject a religious group or certain ethnic groups or cultural groups to a lot of torture and deprivation. And when such governments or individuals exert pressure on groups or religious persons, they do this with the intention of seeking to eliminate them. And so we see these days more and more that people are not respecting the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights. And the United Nations also is trying to see that such things are promoted around the world. It is sad to say that the coronavirus, the COVID-19, should have taught us a lesson that we all share a common human destiny. And while this continues to be a big concern around the world, other forms of injustice must not be condoned. I want to say that injustice to one is injustice to all. Be they Taijimen who have been oppressed, be they Muslims in any part of the world that have been oppressed for their religious belief, I stand as an individual to call on all of us to galvanize support to see how such persons can be given their religious freedom and the right to practice what they believe, so long as it does not constitute an obstacle or harm to the bigger society. It is a human obligation to stand against injustice and to support those whose right to freedom of religion and belief is trampled upon. And so it is in this light that I come to participate in this webinar and to thank all those who have really organized this to see that the freedom of the Taijimen, their property, and their freedom to practice what they want is being respected. I want to quote the Holy Father, being a priest of the Roman Catholic Church. I want to quote the Holy Father in his worldwide message for prayer for unity, where he emphasized the need for all to oppose religious discrimination against all, even those who do not share our faith. May I thank also Dr. Massimo, who put on the message of the Holy Father that was celebrated yesterday, for showcasing this message of the Pope that we all stand together. And I think the message we take away is either we stand together as brothers and sisters, or we risk falling apart. For us in this part of the world, I come from Nigeria, and we know so much what it means to allow oppressive system to deny people their right to worship, their right to religious liberty. Fraternity indeed is a call to overcome inner hatred and external divisive trends and to embrace our common human nature, values, and systems that promote being together. And so for us here in Maiduguri in Nigeria, where we suffer another form of religious persecution perpetrated by extreme religious sects such as Boko Haram or ISWAP, which is a branch of ISIS, we have felt so much this pain of deprivation, of persecution, and our people have suffered so much the consequence of such denial of religious freedom. We stand together to call on governments to restore and respect the rights of people to practice their own religion without hindrance. And so I call on all, let us put ourselves together, let us galvanize support to see that the rights of the Taijimen is fought for. Despite everything, despite all the court cases and all that has been done to restore their dignity and their property, still they are subjected to a lot of taxation. This is inhuman, this is unjust, and it must be condemned. And I condemn such acts and call on all of us to rise together to see that their rights, their dignity are being respected. Thank you very much, and we wish that freedom will be respected. Thank you.
Thank you, and we now move to another critical part of the world, Sudan. And many know the story of Mariam Ibrahim. She is a well-known Sudanese human rights and religious liberty activist who was once sentenced to death in Sudan and then managed to move to the West. She is now the co-founder and the director of global mobilization at the Tahrir al-Nahisa Foundation, which is based in the United States. So, Marianne Ibrahim, the floor is yours. It seems we have some problems of connection with Marianne Ibrahim. And so without further ado, I will first give the floor to Michael Selfridge, who is Taijimen DC here in California. And he will offer us a summary, for those who don't know it, of the Taijimen case and some personal comments.
All right. First of all, I want to say Xinyan Kuaila, Happy New Year, Happy Lunar New Year. Second of all, I want to express my appreciation to Massimo and all the scholars that have joined us today and have been excellent allies in our pursuit of justice. And I also want to say Taijimen and its members do love Taiwan. However, just like a parent loves its child, when they're misbehaving, we have to call that out and make sure that the bad behaviors are corrected. So that is, when we're critical of Taiwan, it's covering from a place of love and trying to make adjustments and corrections. So with that, I want to provide an explanation of the case of Taijimen and our serious demands. Taijimen is a menpai similar to a school of Qigong, martial arts, and self-cultivation. And its Shifu master and Dize have long been committed to international exchanges, spreading the concepts of love, peace, conscience, purifying people's hearts, and promoting world peace. Taijimen has been highly praised by Taiwanese presidents, vice presidents, and foreign ministers. From its inception in 1966, Taijimen Qigong Academy never had any problem with taxes. However, in 1996, it was persecuted during a political purge in the guise of a religious crackdown. Prosecutor Ho Quan-ren fabricated witnesses and evidence to falsely accuse Taijimen of fraud and tax evasion. Shi Yue-sheng, a tax officer who cooperated with the prosecution and committed perjury, revealed before his death that the case was led by Ho Quan-ren and that he was coerced to testify. And at the time, Ho Quan-ren told him that his participation was only a formality. This proves that Taijimen case was fabricated and framed from the very beginning, and the subsequent criminal prosecution, heavy taxes and penalties, as well as compulsory enforcement, were all serious violations of Taiwan's constitution, human rights, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the ICCPR, and the ICE-SCR, causing serious harm to Taiwan and its people. In 2002, the Control Yuan investigated prosecutor Ho Quan-ren's handling of the Taijimen case and listed 8 major violations of the law by the prosecutor and referred the case to the Ministry of Justice for taking disciplinary action against him. The Control Yuan stated that the indictment contradicted the evidentiary information and that the prosecution on such a basis was not in accordance with the law of evidence. The prosecutor admitted during the Control Yuan's investigation that he failed to investigate the matter in accordance with his authority. This proves the indictment was unlawful in the first place. A second investigation by the Control Yuan in 2009 also concluded that the National Taxation Bureau had committed 7 major violations of the law in its handling of the Taijimen case. And the NTB admitted during the investigation that it had made mistakes. Once again, the Control Yuan confirmed that Taijimen should not have been prosecuted and taxed in the first place. In 2007, the Supreme Court ruled that Taijimen was innocent of all charges and did not owe any taxes, that the Hongbao, the red envelopes, given to the Diocese to the Shifu were gifts and tax-free, and that the collective procurement of their uniforms and other items was not for profit. Afterwards, the defendants that were detained received compensation for unlawful imprisonment by the state. This again demonstrates that there are no tax liabilities, and the National Taxation Bureau should have revoked all the illegal tax bills in accordance with the law. Additionally, the Ministry of Finance and National Tax Bureau publicly promised to withdraw the enforcement and conclude the Taijimen tax case within 2 months during a public hearing in the Legislative Yuan in 2010. In 2012, the National Taxation Bureau conducted a public survey in accordance with the resolution of the interministerial meeting of the Executive Yuan, and 7,401 pieces of evidence were collected, confirming that the red envelopes were gifts, which was consistent with the criminal decision and again confirmed that there was no tax debt. However, the National Taxation Bureau reneged on its promise, disobeyed the interministerial meeting resolution, ignored the Supreme Court's decision finding Taijimen not guilty and not owing taxes, and disregarded the 2 letters issued by the Taipei High Administrative Court on May 5th and July 23rd, 2020, requesting the withdrawal of the enforcement under Article 40 of the Tax Collection Act. However, on August 21st, 2020, the National Taxation Bureau, in cooperation with the Administrative Enforcement Agency, unlawfully auctioned Taijimen's land intended for the self-cultivation center and nationalized it in an attempt to obtain performance credits and bonuses, seriously undermining the Shifu's and Diocese mission to improve global citizens' spiritual health and depriving them of their freedom of religion or belief, as well as other basic human rights, such as the right to choose cultural life, equality, non-discrimination, and effective remedy, which are explicitly guaranteed by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the ICCPR, and the ICE-SCR, and Taiwan's Constitution. The Taijimen case has been referred to as a magical mirror that reflects Taiwan's legal and tax problems, and Legal and Tax 228 by scholars and human rights experts. It has been listed by the Control Yuan as a landmark case of human rights violations, and more than 300 legislators of all political parties gave counter signatures, made proposals, questioned government officials, or called press conferences, public hearings, and coordination meetings, pointing out the National Tax Bureau broke the law. Within the past year or so, more than 100 experts and scholars in Taiwan and other countries voiced their support for Taijimen, and more than 100 articles on the Taijimen case were published on human rights platforms such as Bitter Winter, Human Rights Without Frontiers. The case was discussed during the International Religious Freedom Summit in Washington, D.C. in 2001, and an international press conference in Washington, D.C. on December 7th, 2021, drawing a lot of attention. An international NGO even submitted 2 written reports to the Taijimen case to the United Nations Human Rights Council in 2021, condemning the Taiwanese government for its unfair treatment of Taijimen. 25 international scholars and human rights experts have co-signed a letter to President Tsai Ing-wen expressing their concern and calling the Taiwanese government to stop violating the Taijimen's human rights. The Taijimen culture and the human rights of Taijimen Shifu and Dizi and the freedom of thought or belief have been severely harmed in Taiwan for a quarter of a century, and over 10,000 families have been persecuted. A peaceful volunteer in support of Taijimen was even illegally investigated and arrested by the police. And the tactics utilized, such as false accusations and smear campaigns, were similar to those used by prosecutor Zhang-men-ren in the Taijimen case, demonstrating that the authoritarian era's legacy lives on. Persecuting the people. The Taijimen case is not an isolated case of state violence against the people. We call on the Taiwanese government to 1, implement transitional justice, revoke the illegal tax bills, return Taijimen's sacred land. 2, restore the reputations of Taijimen Shifu and Dizi, clearing their names and return justice to them. 3, severely punish the unscrupulous officials to prevent similar cases from happening again so that Taiwan can become a true democracy respecting the rule of law, freedom, and human rights. And once again, I just want to say that Taijimen Dizi and Taijimen Shifu love Taiwan, and that our actions are just as a parent trying to discipline a child who's badly behaved. Thank you.
Thank you. Felicia will tell me whether we can reconnect with Marion Ibrahim. So if not, I will pass the floor to Alessandro Amicarelli, who is a human rights lawyer in London and the president of the European Federation for Freedom of Belief. And Alessandro's task will be to introduce 6 Dizi who will offer their testimonies today. So I'm passed in this relay the role of chairing the round table to Alessandro.
Thank you very much, Massimo. Good evening, morning, afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today on the occasion of the Fraternity Day. And as we celebrate fraternity, we need to stress the importance of unity. As we realize that we are all children of the same universe, we all know that we need to be more and more united, fighting together for justice and fraternity as well. As the Taijimen case is teaching everyone how important it is to be united. And as in every webinar, seminar, or conference regarding the Taijimen case, also today, we are going to have a number of testimonies because we reckon and we do know that it is very important to listen to the victims, to witnesses who have been victims of the persecution. Of course, I subscribe to what Massimo said and other people recalled, and right now, minutes ago, Michael recalled that we all believe that Taiwan is a democracy, Taiwan is a great country, we love Taiwan. I do personally believe that Taiwanese people are lovely people, hardworking people, and as we fight for Taijimen, we are all working together to improve Taiwan's standard of democracy, human rights, and respect of human dignity. Without further ado, we could stay hours talking about these topics, but again, we need to go straight to the point with the witnesses tonight to know more about the impact of the persecution on the witnesses and hopefully hear some positive thoughts about likely improvements in the future. Our first witness today is Chi-Wen Su, who is a graphic designer and illustration artist who lives in the USA and a Dizi of Taijimen. Please, Chi-Wen.
Thank you, Alessandro. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chi-Wen. I'm a visual artist based in Los Angeles, United States. I started practicing Taijimen Qigong in 2013. At the time, I was suffering from anxiety, pain from head to toe, disrupted my daily life, and often reduced me to tears due to despair. When all medications and exercises failed, one parent from my son's elementary school introduced me to Taijimen Qigong Academy. My condition improved dramatically when Qigong breathing techniques stopped my ongoing heart palpitations. This encouraged me to practice diligently as I learned each new form. And I was finally on the path to a better health. My claustrophobia was gone. Very soon, I could travel with my family. I was so happy with my progress that I started sharing the benefits of Taijimen Qigong in 2014. And that was when I first heard of the Taijimen tax case. One close family member heard my sharing and cautioned that, I quote, Taijimen got in trouble and was in the news everywhere in Taiwan. She then continued to say that as long as Qigong practice helped me, then all was well. Undoubtedly, this raised my concern and curiosity. I asked my friend who introduced me to Taijimen. She then explained the Taijimen tax case to me in great depth and clarity. I wanted to begin by sharing this story because not everyone is fortunate enough to learn the truth. If people are given choices, most will want to learn the truth, even though the truth can be shocking and ugly. The Taijimen tax case has revealed that far too many government officials abused their power and covered up the most preposterous scandal in the history of modern Taiwan. It has plagued Taijimen for 25 years and hurt its reputation as a highly acclaimed nonprofit organization, which has received worldwide acknowledgement for promoting Chinese martial arts and love and peace. In my 9 years as a Taijimen Dizi, I have encountered many individuals who have absolutely no knowledge about Qigong, yet criticize what we practice. Over the years, many of my friends even started to distance themselves from me. In Taiwan especially, there are all kinds of misunderstandings about Taijimen. For too long, the general public was fed made-up stories about the 1219 incident. When they hear the three words Taijimen, they immediately question if Taijimen owes government tax and ask why Zhang-men-ren did not resolve the case already. What they don't know is that prosecutor Ho Kuan-ren had fabricated evidence, presented false testimony, persecuted and framed Taijimen with propaganda, along with tax and judicial tactics, all in the name of religious crackdown. The government officials involved in this case not only swallowed a large sum of bonus, they continue to issue invalid tax bills despite the Supreme Court ruling, and even illegally auctioned off the sacred lands of Taijimen in 2020. This time, succumbed by a large sum of bonus yet again. The two English titles, Who Stole Their Youth and The Taijimen Case in Taiwan, a bitter winter anthology, thoroughly documented our fight to restore justice and presented evidence showing how corrupt government officials in Taiwan continue to persecute not just Taijimen, but countless taxpayers with a strong voice. The Taijimen case is now drawing global attention. It's no longer an internal affair. I want to think that we're making a difference here. As we observe the International Day of Human Fraternity, we are truly grateful for our friends and allies around the world who show immense support, share expertise on this subject matter. Our government officials have seriously violated property rights. They should never walk freely. It is not right. They should never walk freely. It is not fair. It is not right. They must be stopped immediately. I was born in Taiwan and will always call myself a Taiwanese, even though I have lived abroad in Australia and the United States since age 15. It pains me to reveal the dark side of Taiwan. When the world looks to the island for its border control and marvels at the parallel universe it has created, while the rest of the world suffers from the pandemic. President Tsai Ing-wen's victory in her two-term elections brought hopes to many. She is an academic and the first female president of Taiwan. There's nobody more suitable to call for complete tax reform and terminate all corruptions still in place from the outdated system. In 2016, she gave a speech after she was elected president and said, "I believe the future government will be able to accept criticism. If we don't listen the first time, you can speak louder. If we don't hear it the second time, you can speak even louder. If we don't respond the third time, you can bang on the table." The people have spoken. The people have banged on the table. I believe President Tsai has heard us. I believe she has seen us. Now I sincerely hope that she will listen and respond and make true democracy a reality in Taiwan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chi-Wen. And we all hope that the president will take some strong action leading a real reform of the tax law in Taiwan. We now move on with the next speaker, with the next witness, Richard Tsai, a graduate student of the University of Washington Dental School, United States, and a DC of Taijimen. Please, Richard, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Richard, and I am currently a graduate student at University of Washington. So it is my genuine pleasure to share my thoughts on the International Day of Human Fraternity. It's an important day that points to the need to observe mutual respect and understanding of different cultures and religions. So in today's geopolitical climate, having a dialogue on many social issues, including cultural and religious differences, can sometimes jeopardize our friendships and alienate one another. So this is a very concerning trend that calls for the attention from every global citizens to find a solution that can bring the world closer. From my view as a student, academic debates are the best way to immerse oneself to different ideas. Even if I disagree with the opposing viewpoints, typically in a classroom setting, students with different opinions on a subject would sit face to face across one another and exchange opinions on a subject, exchange opinions and different viewpoints. And some may appear more passionate than others on certain issues, but the debates always ended peacefully and respectfully, obviously. And I came to realize that such debates do not have an absolute right or wrong answer. In fact, both sides have an argument, have valid points to make. However, I do notice that civilized debate is quickly disappearing in our society. And the presence of intellectual ideas that are exchanged in a civilized manner allows everyone to come together and potentially find common ground. So like the meaning behind the International Day of Human Fraternity, people with different religious and cultural beliefs should also exchange their understanding of faith and traditions in hopes not to convert other people, but to allow others to understand one's own beliefs. And stigma and prejudice can arise due to the lack of understanding of other cultures and religions. And this can lead to conflict and harm, with the most severe cases being human rights violations and wars. To provide an example, I'm going to use the Taijimen tax case to demonstrate how the lack of dialogue and understanding can lead to serious human rights violations that can inflict pain on parties involved. And as we all know, the Taijimen is a martial arts academy that followed the old tradition of Menpai. It involves the Grand Master of Taijimen, Dr. Tao-Tze, passing on the ancient knowledge of wisdom and martial arts to his apprentice. And the apprentice would in turn voluntarily, through monetary gifts, donate. And these gifts, by the definition in the ruling of Taiwan's Supreme Court, are deemed as gifts that are legally tax exempt and are meant to show gratitude to the Grandmaster for the transfer of skills and knowledge. However, the government's tax agency refused to hold constructive dialogues with Taijimen and staunchly believed that Taijimen is a for-profit school. It's a false claim that was already struck down in the court. To be clear, Taijimen and other martial arts organizations are not owed any taxes by the legal definition of monetary gifting. It was unfortunately entangled in its unjust prosecution committed by the few government officials who opposed correcting their mistakes. Using this false pretext, the tax agency seized the Grandmaster's properties and threatened to close down all the Academy's branches. This case has dragged on for a quarter century and is mainly the result of the refusal to have constructive dialogues that promote the understanding of different cultures and beliefs. It also shows how ignorant and the lack of respect for the rule of law can lead to egregious violations of religious freedom committed by the government and other institutions of power. Hence, I believe International Day of Human Fraternity is a very important opportunity for all levels of society to reflect on ways that could promote mutual respect and understanding of diverse cultures and religions. I personally believe that the best way to echo the message of the day's importance is to continue to create windows of opportunity like we have right now for dialogues between opposing sides in order to ensure the advancement of human rights and safety of religious freedom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. We now have one more witness. Next witness is Nicole Chen, who is a student at Harvard University in the United States and a DC of Taijimen. Nicole, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole. I'm currently a student at Harvard studying economics, and I'm originally from California. Thousands of years ago, people used the word universal love as a model of human virtue to care for each other and achieve social harmony. Fraternity is a traditional Chinese concept and virtue. Dr. Sun Yat-sen, father of the Republic of China, especially admired the spirit of universal love and believed that freedom, equality, and universal love are the essence of humanism. And he regarded universal love as the highest ideal and the farthest goal to pursue. He also combined the essence of Western social and political doctrine, including ideas of freedom, equality, and fraternity, with the traditional Chinese political thought of benevolence, and gave it his own interpretation. We have given our own interpretation to the idea of fraternity, so that it carries the meaning of traditional Chinese morality, but also contains the connotation of democracy, freedom, and equality in Western society, making it more contemporary and world conscious. This idea is not unique to the East and is in fact echoed worldwide. In 1999, the General Assembly adopted the Declaration and Program of Action on a Culture of Peace to promote a culture of peace and nonviolence that benefits all of humanity, including future generations. To me, the key idea that is presented in this declaration is as follows. The declaration embraces the principle that peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but also requires a positive, dynamic, participatory process in which dialogue is encouraged and conflicts are resolved in a spirit of mutual understanding and cooperation. In theory, it is only obvious that these words should only create the bedrock for peace and harmony, but where are we today? You all might have heard of this news story just a few weeks ago. An Asian woman was pushed to her death at a subway station in New York City in what people are calling an unprovoked attack. This incident is not a standalone incident. More broadly, the FBI reported that over 15,000 incident reports were submitted were submitted involving over 7,000 criminal incidents motivated by bias towards race, ethnicity, ancestry, religion, sexual orientation, disability, gender, and gender identity in 2020 alone. This idea of fraternity, while theoretically is in our minds, is missing in our daily interactions with those around us. I joined Taijimen at the age of 7, where I always learned to be brave even when it was hard for me to do so. I was instantly thrown into endless rehearsals for cultural performances I participated in all throughout California and in Taiwan as well. I played the drums, I danced, and much more. And at the time, it just seemed like a fun way to get my body moving and to connect with my culture. But as I've grown older now, I've realized the true meaning of these cultural performances. Taijimen really champions love and peace, regardless of identity, race, sexual orientation, etc. And these cultural performances were to spread this energy to everyone who wanted to accept it. Beyond my participation, other Taijimen brothers and sisters have visited over 100 countries to do the same, and that shows Taijimen's dedication towards universal love, peace, and fraternity. Cultural heritage is an asset that must be protected in every country. The contributions that Taijimen has made to the country and the world over the years have been recognized nationally and internationally, and have been praised by successive heads of state in Taiwan. But the persecution that has continued for 25 years remains unresolved. The judiciary has no control over the violation of the law of public authority. The government has used taxation as a means to persecute the freedom of religious beliefs and encroach on the sacred land of Taijimen, especially the National Taxation Bureau, which overrides the judiciary and the 5 chambers of government, harming Taiwan's democracy and freedom. Therefore, our Shifu and Di-Zi not only fight for their own human rights, but also promote the reform of law and taxes to help the people and the country. It is only right that we recognize on the International Day of Fraternity that it is wrong of the Taiwanese government to pursue an organization like Taijimen that truly prioritizes the goal of love and peace and bonds so many people of so many nations together. And with Taijimen's notion of mutual assistance and universal love, people will strive to eliminate the conflicts between people and the differences between the rich and the poor, so as to realize the harmony, happiness, and commonwealth of mankind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Very interesting testimony from your side. Next speaker is, next witness is Ann Chen. She is a colleague from California, attorney and the DC of Taijimen. Please, Ann, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ann Chen. I'm a lawyer in Taiwan and California. In December 2021, the U.S. hosted the first Summit for Democracy, inviting leaders and representatives from more than 100 democracies around the world to discuss 3 main things: preventing authoritarianism, fighting corruption, and promoting human rights. Taiwan was invited to participate in the summit and made 62 specific commitments to echo the U.S. Summit for Democracy, the most noteworthy of which was to jointly promote international religious freedom and human rights. However, the current situation in Taiwan is going in the opposite direction of what it promised to do. According to Taiwan's Ministry of Justice, there were 14.31 million new cases of unpaid taxes and government fees pending enforcement in 2020. And Taiwan's Ministry of Finance estimated that the over-collected taxes would exceed $14.38 billion in 2021. Over the past 8 years, the over-collected taxes have been more than $38.6 billion. The government claims that the over-collected taxes are used to repay the national debt. But the real issue is that people's property rights have been illegally violated by public power. The failure of the tax relief system has caused all kinds of havoc. Tax collectors issue tax bills at their discretion in search of illegal bonuses. There are many cases of unjust taxation. Taiwan's problematic tax system has created countless tax victims. People suffer as the national debt rises rather than falls. Taijimen case is a landmark case where the Taiwanese government has used unjust tax measures to violate the people's religious freedom and human rights. The case has lasted for a quarter of a century, and Taijimen has not received the justice it deserves. This case has become a major blemish in Taiwan's human rights record in the 21st century, seriously damaging the reputation of the democratic camp. On July 13, 2007, the Taiwan Supreme Court already ruled that Taijimen was not guilty of all charges and did not owe taxes, and all the defendants that were detained had received compensation from the state for their wrongful imprisonment. According to the law, Taiwan's National Taxation Bureau should have taken the initiative to revoke the illegal tax bill. If the administrative officials are allowed to say that the court's decision does not count, then can Taiwan be called a country under the rule of law? Shi Yueshen, the tax officer that accused Taijimen of tax evasion, made a confession before his death. He said that he was cooperating with the prosecutor Hou Kuan-ren to make a show. A fabricated case has turned into a human rights violation case where Taijimen's sacred land was forcibly taken away by the government. Now that the truth is out in the open, if the government still turns a blind eye to it and allows the case to remain unresolved, then it seriously harms Taiwan and its people. In January of this year alone, there were 2 shocking suicide cases in Taiwan. 3 people hanged themselves in Puli because of judicial injustice. A mother of one of the deceased wrote a letter that reads, "I'm afraid I won't be able to clear my child's name. There's no justice. There's no justice. There's no justice." And 6 days later, former legislator Pang Jianguo fell to his death, leaving behind these words before he passed away. "There's no justice in Taiwan. I'd rather die than live on. There's no justice in Taiwan. I'd rather die than live on. There's no justice in Taiwan. I'd rather die than live on." On January 29, Xie Zhihong, who had been sentenced to death 9 times and detained for 6,834 days, finally received $1.23 million in compensation for his wrongful imprisonment. However, the 20 years of litigation, the damage to his property, the mental anguish, and the damage to his reputation during this period cannot be compensated by money. The officials who violated the law have not been punished, prosecuted, or sentenced. The tens of millions of dollars that he received in compensation will be paid by the people. How many more people have to suffer because there's no justice in Taiwan? Every Taiwanese is a victim. In 2018, the United Nations General Assembly declared January 24 as International Day of Education. And in 2019, the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution entitled Promoting the Culture of Peace with Love and Conscience, submitted by the Kingdom of Bahrain, declaring April 5th as the International Day of Conscience. In 2020, the UN General Assembly declared February 4 as International Day of Human Fraternity. It is significant that these 3 days were adopted one after another. The core value of education is to inspire the inner goodness in people and their self-awareness. And tolerance, mutual respect, and diversity of religions and beliefs can promote human fraternity. Dr. Hong has been promoting the movement of an era of conscience since 2014, and he has led his Diocese visit 101 countries to spread love and goodness. Conscience is the guideline to save the world. If government officials follow their conscience, they will protect human rights and work for the well-being of the people and society. The more global citizens that have their conscience awakened, the safer our living environment will be. Taiwan is my hometown. My family and friends still live there. Religious freedom and human rights are universal value and the fundamental dignity that every human being should enjoy. Once again, I urge the Taiwanese government to immediately rectify the Taijimen's case, clear the names of Taijimen's Shifu and Dizi, return justice to them, return Taijimen's sacred land, and start persecuting Taijimen, so like Taijimen's Shifu and Dizi can continue their practice and continue to spread the culture of love and peace around the world, helping the world and purifying people's heart. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne. Very moving words. We now have one more witness. She is a member of London Taijimen branch. She is a friend, Yawen Cheng, a banker lawyer in London, specializing in compliance, and the DC, of course, of Taijimen. Please, Yawen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, everyone. This is Yawen from London. It's my honor to be here with all of you today. The adoption of Human Fraternity Day reflects the importance of culture and religion to an inclusive and sustainable world, and our common aspiration to peace. This reminds me of the adoption of International Day of Conscience, which promote the culture of peace with love and conscience, also highlight our shared value. Dr. Hong has been devoted to promote peace culture since 2014. Dr. Hong and his deeds start working with various permanent missions to the United Nations since 2018. And finally, the draft resolution proposed by the Kingdom of Bahrain was adopted by the General Assembly in 2019, declaring April 5th the International Day of Conscience. These two resolutions were adopted by the General Assembly at a relatively quick speed, underlying the value of culture, religion, belief is even more important and needed than ever before. Equally important, freedom to religion and belief should be respected and protected. Governments are responsible for the protection of these fundamental human rights. Therefore, the level of protection to freedom of religion and belief could work as a thermometer to the level of democracy. A democratic country usually is not considered as a suspect of intrusion to the religious liberty, as the general impression is that these states have legislation and policies to protect human rights and the freedom to religion or belief. However, the Taijimen case in Taiwan provides a bad example about how the government deploy litigation and taxation as tools to oppress a spirit movement. Taijimen was unfairly discriminated by Taiwanese government. The government has never levied any tax on any other religious group or martial art association with respect to the donation of monetary gift to their master, as this is a tradition to express respect and appreciation. More ridiculous, the National Taxation Bureau ignored the ruling of not guilty and no tax owed by the Supreme Court and continue issuing illegal tax bills. The nature and practice of Taijimen has never changed since its inception in 1966. Well, only years of 1990 to 1996 were alleged to have tax issue. How could it be only 6 years be taxable? Furthermore, the tax bill were amended to 0, except the one for year 1992. There's no clear rationale or reason for such inconsistent decision. The discrepancy and the contradiction further evidence that all the taxation are incorrect, which is consistent with the ruling of the Supreme Court. Not guilty, no rolling tax, and no violation of tax code. The National Tax Bureau even collided with administrative enforcement agent to auction off Taijimen's sacred land in 2020, which subsequently were confiscated by the government. On the surface, Taijimen case appeared to be a tax dispute. However, the case was a false case from the very beginning. No evidence, no victim. The accusation is really gobbling because the prosecutor unable to find anything illegal. Also, the National Taxation Bureau did not fulfill that stationary duty of investigation and verification. Simply just follow the instruction of the corrupted prosecutor Hou Guanren to frame Taijimen. The tax auditor, Shi Yuesheng, who accused Taijimen, clarified in an interview 2 years ago that he was ordered to follow the instruction of prosecutor Hou. His testimony just part of a play directed by the prosecutor. In the past 25 years, Taijimen case exposed the dark side of a democracy title. Despite the level of democracy, the constitution, the propaganda of human rights protection, the legislation of two covenants of ICCPR and ICSCR, the government still allow the civil service officer to abuse their power, to use taxation as a tool to oppress Taijimen. Our persistence and determination is not about money. Taijimen could have easily settled the dispute with the tax agent if we are willing to compromise, but we don't. We want to do the right thing. Even we understand the chance to overturn the case is minimal after the bonus being divided among high-rank officials, National Tax Bureau, and enforcement agent. We are not discouraged. We will continue our journey of justice. It is therefore important that the Taijimen case was brought upon to international arena and the UN stage. We are hoping the alliance of justice and the voice from abroad would wake up Taiwanese government. At the sign of the document of human fraternity for world peace and living together, it's a calling outwardly to work strenuously to spread the culture of tolerance and living together in peace. We won't be able to live in peace without justice. I want to call Taiwanese government to end the injustice on Taijimen, to fulfill its promise of transitional justice and the respect to freedom of religion and belief. Thank you.
Thank you, Yawen. And I totally agree. We need to keep saying that it's not just a matter of the prosecutor being wrong, totally wrong. So the old case was wrong since the beginning, but it's the old system that didn't work. And the 25 years of problems have been caused by a wrong system. So the judiciary resolved the matter in favor of Taijimen, but still problems continue to affect the whole community, the entire community, and this must be stopped by denouncing the corrupted system all over the world in all possible places and with all possible actions. Thank you again, Yowen. Next witness is Linda Chen. She's a postdoctoral research associate at Dalhousie University in Canada and a DC of Taijimen. Please, Linda, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alex. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us from around the world. My name is Linda Chen. I'm a postdoctoral research associate in the medical field at Dalhousie University in Halifax, eastern of Canada. It's my pleasure to present in this session as we celebrate the second UN International Day of Human Fraternity yesterday, and this week is also the World Interfaith Harmony Week. I'm grateful to see so many of the international scholars and friends are here today. At this webinar, I would like to share with you my personal experiences, the journey that brings me here to speak up for Taijimen and take actions to stop social injustice in Taiwan. I hope my story will demonstrate to you how we can all find common ground between different cultures, different religions and beliefs through communication, having open dialogues and raising awareness. Especially when conflicting issues arises, we can all keep an open mind, respect and support each other like our own brothers and sisters. I was born in Taiwan in 1995, not too long before I immigrated to Canada. My uncle recommended me to join Taijimen Qigong Academy, and I became a Taijimen Dizi. In the past 27 years, I continue practicing Taijimen Qigong and meditation on a daily basis. The Eastern traditions and wisdoms that I learned from my Shifu, the Zhang-men-ren of Taijimen, Dr. Tao-Tze, benefit not only to my overall health, but also tremendously to my personal and spiritual growth through self-cultivation and self-reflection. Whenever time allows and opportunities arise, I volunteer and join many cultural, spiritual, and social movements initiated by Dr. Hong, such as World Love and Peace promotion through the Cultural Exchanging Program, also an era of conscience and international conscience day movements. Taijimen case started in 1996. I was in the first year university then, and that was the first time I flew back to Taipei from Canada for Christmas holidays. That Christmas 1996 and my subsequent home visits years after, I remember several times I wore my Qigong practice uniform out on the street in Taipei, and the judgmental eyes from the strangers made me feel very uncomfortable. For more than 2 decades, I lived quietly in Canada and kept my voice muted about the Taijimen case. I've never been an articulate person, and my great interest in science led me to the academic research in biomedical field. I study human diseases and enjoy working in the laboratory environment. When the unprecedented crisis caused by COVID-19 pandemic hit the world in 2020 and during several phases of a lockdown over the past 2 years, like many people, I was forced to work from home. Unable to go into the lab and facing so many deaths and sadness in the world, it made me think deeply why this happened. And I eagerly wanted to find answer to what I could actually do to help. To be honest, up until 2020, I had immersed myself in my own little world of medical research. My work may help finding cure for cancer or treatments for heart diseases one day. By one day, I mean 10, 20, or even 30 years down the road. At the height of COVID pandemic and before vaccine became available, my Shifu's teachings and his visionary works become much clearer to me. With the current state of the world, does humanity have 10, 20, 30 more years to live before another pandemic or natural disasters strike? Or the Third World War may destroy the humanity in no time? I, as one of the world's citizens, need to take responsibility right now for a sustainable future. A few of the careless people could kill the whole community through spreading deadly viruses. A corrupted government could also easily destroy the humanity through their greed for power, resources, and unable to have mutual understanding to resolve conflicts with others. Humanity is all in this together. I believe the need for spiritual guidance has never been greater. I finally understand the true meaning behind solving the Taiwan case, as well the needs to respond to every freedom of religion or belief violation case around the world. It has much greater implication and deeper value than what I used to understand it from the surface. What really helped me transform from remaining silent to speaking up to the social injustice is through the guidance from Dr. Hong, but also the support from many international scholars and friends around the world. In addition, my realizations and drives to search for more answers to why and how to solve conflicts, problems for humanities are strong. This led me to watch YouTube videos on diverse topics. I was inspired by many young people who speak up and voice their views on social problems, environmental issues, and sharing their cultures, religions, and traditions with global viewers. One of them really caught my attention, a gifted teenage astrologer from India, Abhiga Anand. He is well known on the social media for accurately predicted that there would be worldwide spread of the diseases in 2020, many months before it happened. A couple of things made a great impression for me upon researching on his YouTube channel. First, the name of his channel is called Conscience. That instantly drew my attention, obviously, with my volunteer works with the International Day of Conscience movement. He has also shared the ancient Indian wisdom on right and wrong on his channel. And second, there was a video about ancient wisdom on taxation that he published about 2 months ago in December 2021. Abhiga recognized the problems of taxation enforcement by the government in the world, around the world. He specified not just in India. He provided the perspective of ancient Indian scriptures on the concept of taxation that requires mutual trust, confidence, love, and compassion between the government and citizens. There is an analogy in the scripture described the government as bees and the citizens as beautiful flowers with sweet nectar. Being an insect, bees are more than capable of harming flowers, but in nature, they are very gentle on the flower when collecting the nectar patiently and carefully while helping flowers pollinated to propagate. I find it beautifully described. As we have seen in the Taiwan case, the corrupted and ill-minded bureaucrats in Taiwanese government had violated people's rights to freedom of religions and properties. There's no gentleness about collecting nectars from the flowers. But those bureaucrats are more like diseased bees that are spreading viruses and killing all the flowering plants in the beautiful garden of Taiwan. Abhiga has different cultures and religious background from me, but I could easily find the common ground through his sharing. This gifted 14-year-old boy has also aspired more global citizens, young and old, to be positive, to appreciate ancient culture and wisdom, and to improve awareness and understanding of the common values shared by all humankind. In conclusion, it's comforting to see that we have so many international friends who care for our next generations and genuinely concerned about the future of Taiwan are here with us today. Thank you for coming forward to share your efforts, friendship, and knowledge on this special occasion. Man-made sufferings, I believe, need to be solved by mankind. Fighting for social injustice, our basic human rights, and resolving Taiwan case in Taiwan are not just the work for volunteers from tax and legal reform leagues in Taiwan. They are not the jobs of the international scholars and experts, nor the responsibility of Taiwanese alone. It requires conscious awakening from all Taiwanese people, including all the government officials and every single citizen. Treat each other like our own brothers and sisters. Work and resolve problems together. Thanks again for the opportunity for me to speak here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. And yes, action is what we need. Time, of course, will be healing what happened to Taiwan, but we do need action. We need to eradicate the bad apples from the beautiful garden of Taiwan. as you called your lovely country tonight. Now, before moving on with some conclusions with Donald Westbrook, we have a video. In one of the seminars we had in January, I made kind of a call on the youth of Taiwan to join Taiwan Men to help improve democracy and human rights standards in Taiwan. And the video we have tonight is a video about the youth voice. So let's enjoy this short video now, and then we give the floor to Donald for some conclusions. I believe there is some technical issue maybe with the video. So what we can do now is we give the floor to Donald Westbrook from San Jose State University for some final remarks and a conclusion. And if we have a chance to do it later on, we will have the video. Please, Donald, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alex. And it's an honor to help conclude this seminar today. And I hope you've benefited, as I have, from not only our esteemed guests in law, academia, nonprofit sectors, and human rights, but also members and witnesses from Taiwan itself. You know, fraternity, brotherhood, sisterhood, our common bonds, congeniality, peace, cooperation, tolerance, mutual support as human beings in our pluralistic world are all more incredibly important in our day and age, an age of information, but too often misinformation as well. We're fortunate enough to benefit from the connectivity of our digital age, for instance, on Zoom and social media, that allows us to be together and for others to watch this later. But it's also important that we maintain that sense of fraternity on a global scale in our awareness of the legal and human rights concerns of groups such as Taiwan. From my study of the literature and materials produced by Taiwan, including these videos we've seen today, this is also very important to Dr. Hong and the Dizzy. I'm hopeful that Taiwan will indeed hear the calls from Taiwan, those on this seminar, and supporters around the world, and bring about long overdue justice, righting a wrong and returning confiscated land. I would like to see this as a scholar of religion, yes, certainly, but also as a human being, and as a reflection of a most basic rule: treat others as you would like to be treated. And this includes working together and not just standing by when an injustice stands. Indeed, fraternity is active rather than passive, proactive rather than reactive. And I think it's in that spirit that we celebrate the International Day of Fraternity and what it actually stands for in our lives and those around us. And of course, we see this reflected as well in other sources, such as the UN Declaration of Human Rights, Article 18, that I know many here know well, but deserves repeating, that everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom, either alone or in community with others and in public or private, to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. So thank you all to the speakers, the participants, the organizers today, and let us all continue to work toward a just future, both for Taiwan in Taiwan and other minority religious groups around the world. And thank you again in the spirit of fraternity and also religious liberty and human rights awareness, and most importantly, making it a lived reality in our world wherever injustice remains. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donald. And I would like to give the floor back to Massimo, if he wants to make a final remark and then launch the final video, if it is available.
Yeah, I'm told the video is ready, so we should watch the video or videos first.
Okay, amazing.
不是总机，总统要扛责任，要领导，不是把问题转给其他的部会就好了。
要谦卑，谦卑再谦卑。
I'm Lillian, and I'm 24 years old. I'm a college student. The Taiwanese government has burdened us with over millions of debts. We don't dare to dream, not even to imagine what our future would be like.
I'm Bobby Chen. I've been following many cases of human rights and religious freedom abuses here in Taiwan. I was extremely saddened to discover that the culprit of all these abuses is the joint force of the tax and judicial department from our government. Because of having this bonus system, our civil servants have been unscrupulously overtaxing citizens and businesses just for the bonus. And it is the sole reason these officials are not willing to abolish this bonus system, all for their greed.
Hello everyone, I'm Melanie, a ninth grader student. I know what is right and what is wrong. I'm brave to stand out and speak up, since it has been for 25 years later that the IRS said they would revoke our case. However, they auctioned off our land.
My name is Mitchell, and my grandpa was a tax victim who was persecuted by the IRS. His company and assets are all gone.
I am Emmy, an international volunteer for the Action Alliance to Redress 1219. I seek and fight for the truth. The corrupted officials and wrongful system are harming and threatening the human rights of Taiwan.
I live in California. My relatives who still live in Taiwan said that the world is being lied to by the Taiwanese government. I am a Taijimen, and my shifu taught me to love myself, my family, and even those who I don't know.
我在100年的时候，我就跟财政部长讲，那这个应该是可以结案的。他没有把它当做自己的事情，反正那个奖金我拿了，然后呢要扣税也是扣你们的。
What is at stake in the case of Taijimen is the system of bonuses by which there is a conflict of interest leading to the over-collection of taxes and even the fabrication of tax evasion cases. This is an obvious abuse of power for private financial gain and a pyramidal scam as officials at all levels pocket winnings.
The application of the rule of law goes hand in hand with strong anti-corruption policy. Taiwan is numbered 35 in the Global Corruption Index scale. Considering the numerous corruptive acts by the Taiwan National Tax Bureau, which were overturned in the court of law time and time again, could raise Taiwan's national interests. The National Tax Bureau still gets away with trumped-up fraud charges, coercion, threats, illegal raids and confiscation and auction off property, theft, imprisonment, and slander of the Taijimen and its Ditzi. After 25 years, the judiciary has no grip on these illegal practices and perpetrators have not been prosecuted. There has been no redress on the abuse of power of the National Tax Bureau.
In Taiwan, there are tens of thousands of tax-damaged households and 14.31 million unpaid taxes and fees pending enforcement. And these numbers mean that at any time, someone's family will be broken, and at any time, someone will commit suicide because they can't take it anymore. Many of the affected households have been subjected to human rights persecution by the Taiwanese government by means of judicial and taxation methods. In the first half of January this year alone, there were 2 sensational murders in Taiwan. 3 people in Puli hanged themselves because of judicial injustices. 6 days later, former legislator Peng Jianguo fell to his death, leaving 3 lines before he passed away. Unfairness and injustice in Taiwan. My life is worse than death. Xie Zhihong is not guilty because of a wrongful imprisonment. 18 years of youth was taken away. He was given the death penalty 9 times, from which he almost lost his life. The judge who sentenced him to death has still not been punished, trampling on human rights and making the entire population pay for the high amount of compensation for wrongful imprisonment. In addition to having the largest number of victims and tens of thousands of families involved, the 1219 case has dragged on for more than a quarter of a century and more than 25 years. Human rights and freedom of religion have been destroyed by the violence of Taiwan's tax and judicial bureaucrats, as a false tax bill was fabricated out of thin air, causing Taijimen's self-cultivation land to be illegally auctioned off and taken into state ownership, and many assets to evaporate into the state tax office. Even though the 5 ministries of the government system, 306 legislators, and 2 judges of the criminal trial of the Taijimen case have come forward to speak out, even after winning 18 times from the administrative court, even at the Legislative Yuan's public hearing, the NTB of the Ministry of Finance promised in person to solve the case, and even the tax officer Shi Yuesen, who illegally issued the tax bill, came forward before his death to reveal that he was instructed by prosecutor Hou Kuan-ren to forge and cooperate with fake testimony to frame Taijimen. But no president has dared to come forward to speak out and redress the Taijimen case, because behind the scenes, regardless of party affiliation, officials are protecting each other and bundling interests. No one dares to step on anyone's turf, so they choose to sacrifice the people to maximize the interests of public officials. A government that does not have the people in mind, what human rights could they uphold?
I'm a volunteer of the Tax and Legal Reform League, and I know that more than tens of thousands of families in Taiwan are now suffering from the human rights persecution, just like me. People are in deep sorrow, and it's so hard to fight against the government when they are abusing their public power over us.
Slightly avoid judicial trials, continue working in the government, and even be promoted to continue their robbing from the people.
Taijimen taught me to respect, and also respect different religions. Due to compassion, we would empathy others' feelings. Sifu taught me the value of my heart, not only working for ourselves, but also to work hard for everyone else.
Conscience is my belief. Taijimen taught me to be sincere. This is the opposite of Taiwan's government officials, so they want to destroy us because we know how to distinguish right from wrong, and they feel threatened.
Not only in Taiwan, but also in France, where spiritual groups are subject to human rights persecution by the government through taxation. The rescue was successfully completed with the support of international human rights groups. Therefore, what the Taijimen Shifu and Dizi insisted on for a quarter of a century, which has transcended religion, race, and nationality, it was a faith they held in their hearts, the determination to defend human rights and the truth. Because of their love, their hope for a better Taiwan and a better world, they have not only spoken out for the 14.31 million desperate people in Taiwan who have been persecuted by the state, but they have also gone global, hoping to help more people through international power, hoping that there will never be another victim anywhere in the world.
I believe in righteousness.
Taiwan, being on the front line of democracy, cannot bear these dictator acts from within our own government. We need your help in this desperate time.
We need all of you in the world that have justice and power.
Thank you for being for justice and being brave and warm.
We'll be forever thankful for the international human rights community for your support.
We need your help.
We need your help.
We need your help. We need your help.
We can no longer be bullied by these wrong systems and corrupt officials. We are still young. We are the future. When we can be so fearless against the government that bullies the people for 25 years, I believe that you will give us hugs, give us strength, and give us the most sincere help.
So thank you. Thanks to all who participated in this seminar. It was another significant international event, but we should not stop here. We should continue. And this is not about anger. It's about justice. And we conclude with a song called Love to show that this protest, in fact, embodies the deepest value of fraternity, conscience, love, and peace. Thanks to all. And let's listen to the song.
You feel